So for this project, I started with an old coffee cup or teacup. It's kind of a small one, and I put a hair tie around it and drew with a permanent magic marker where I wanted to cut it. Then I used the scoring tool that you would use to score stained glass, and I tried to score it a little bit, hopefully to help it break in the right spot. Didn't really help, but it did help a little bit. Then I took my nipper and I nipped it, and didn't break exactly how I thought it would, but it did break, and part of it came off. And then I just continued to nip, and I wasn't able to cut it right where I had that marking, but it did work out pretty good. And I was able to continue to use the nippers to kind of make the shape I wanted. And I actually ended up with 3 pieces. I'm only showing you 2 pieces here, but in a minute I'll show you the third piece when I take it outside to the grinder. And then there's a stained glass or a permanent marker mark on it, and I use rubbing alcohol, and that takes it off. And this is also what you use for stained glass. When you have your marker marks on it, you can just use your rubbing alcohol to take the permanent marker off. Some of the tips that I used for cutting the coffee cup I found on a YouTube channel called Treasury Road. So here I'm showing you 2 of the 3 pieces I ended up with. And I have another little piece that I didn't think I could use for anything, but I went ahead and saved that also, and you'll see that in 1 minute. I took all 3 pieces out to the garage, and I used my stained glass grinder to smooth the edges down. And this material is so easy to work with. It's real easy to smooth down. They just hit some rough edges. This is the little piece here that I saved from the cup also. Now this is the piece I'm using for the project, and again it just hit some rough edges, and I went over it with the stained glass grinder. You need to wear a respirator because it does produce some dust that you can breathe in, and some pieces of glass could possibly fly, so you need to wear protective glasses also. And then I decided I wanted to round off the very bottom edges, so I just went over the both corners on the bottom and just rounded them off so that it looked like a little pot. And this is what I'm going to use for the project. You don't have a grinder, you could try using like a sanding block and go over the edges and round the sides. I'm sure that would work. And next I'm going to make the flower petals, and what I used to make the petals was a very, very small diameter bud vase. The reason I want a small diameter is because I'm making very small flowers. The larger diameter, the less of a curve, the larger the flowers. And I created the petals by just nipping around the perimeter of this bud vase. And unlike the other petals I've made in other videos, I did not shape these. I just simply nipped them. The other ones I would nip and then shape them into a certain shape. But these are pretty much pointy at each end. And in 1 second I'm going to show you what they look like. Because it's a small diameter vase, they are very rounded, and that's what you want. See how round that is? And they're not very tall. This is thick glass though, and that's why it doesn't crumble. So I just continue to go around the entire vase until I use it all up. And the petals that I'm going to be using for this are only a few of them, but it's from the very top of the vase, the very rounded pieces. And what I end up doing is I end up cutting up 2 bud vases and that pink colored glass that you see in there. And they're not all being used for this project, but that's what I end up throwing into the tumbler. So here's some of the glass. This is from the very first bud vase, and you can see how rounded they are, the ones at the very top there. And in addition to this glass, I end up throwing another bud vase in there and the pinkish glass that I had broken up. And after it was all in the tumbler, I covered it with water, put a squirt of Dawn dishwashing liquid over it. And all the Dawn dishwashing liquid does is it cleans the glass. It gets any excess dirt or oils that you may have missed. And then I put it on my tumbler. This is the VEVOR tumbler, and this past week it's been on sale for $29.99, an incredible price. It can run for up to 9 days and 4 speeds. This we're only running for an hour because we're just getting the sharp edges off. You have to set your own timer, but I am going to run it at the highest speed 4, and I leave it on for 1 hour. When it's done, I rinse it off and throw it on a towel to dry. Then I take the pieces of glass I think I'm going to need, I spread them out on some wax paper, and I take the Krylon Sea Glass spray paint. It's kind of a pinky purple color, and I spray the glass with it. And I chose this color and this particular paint because I'm trying to match the color of the rose on the front of the coffee cup. But I don't really care for this frosted. It's not as translucent as I would like it to be. So next I took a 6x6 canvas that I had painted with the Artist Loft iridescent medium, and I had put just a little bit of hot pink paint I brushed back and forth on. And to prepare the canvas, I'm putting some painter's tape on the back, and what the painter's tape does is when you put resin on the front and it drips down, it inevitably leaves drips on the back. And unless you're going to dome it just on the top and you don't want the resin on the sides. But I like the entire canvas to have resin on it, including the sides. And when it does go down the sides, you do get drips on the bottom, and it's easiest to remove the drips by taping it first and then just removing the tape the next day. So once that was ready, I took 4 little cups and I put it up on the cups, because if you don't have it up on the cups, it will stick to the whatever paper you have underneath, or in this case I have a silicone mat. It would pool around the bottom and it just wouldn't look right. So here I am setting up the little flowers. So I'm making 3 flowers. They're going to kind of look like roses. I guess you could call them any kind of flowers you want. And I always start from the outside for some reason. I see a lot of people do it. They start from the inside and go out. I start from the outside and go in. I'm not real thrilled with the paint that I used on that glass because it isn't translucent. I put it on too thick. Now it is a frosted glass. When you do put the resin over it, it will become shinier. But what I was trying to match the color of the rose on the front of the cup. Can you see that? So, and I thought that worked out pretty good. I'm adding some green glass to the flowers for leaves. This glass I had previously cut up and tumbled from a vase, a very pretty dark green vase. Next, I have some Ashland decorative filler that I had previously spray painted green, and I'm going to use that just to fill in a couple of areas wherever there should be green. And this is reflective Ashland decorative filler, reflective crushed glass, and you can color it with spray paint, with alcohol inks, and you can also color it with the Indian inks. For the first time, I'm going to be using this Airless Lite bubble removal machine. I've never used one before. And I know bubbles can be a big problem for a lot of us using resin. So this is the actual machine. It actually plugs in. This is the pressure hole. You have to plug that in before you turn the machine on, and after you turn the machine off, you unplug it to remove the pressure or to release the pressure. And then on each side there are cooling holes, vents. You'll see them on each side of the machine. So next I just put the resin in, put the top on, and push the power button at the top. So this is exactly 10 minutes until all the bubbles came to the top, and after that I turn the machine off, and there's a ton of bubbles at the top, but what you do next is you remove the plug to release the pressure, and then the bubbles will start to dissipate. Now I took this out after maybe 2 minutes, and That's what it looked like. Had I waited longer, more of the bubbles may have dissipated, but what I ended up doing was taking a little spoon and just scooping them off the top. But doesn't that look nice and clear and pretty bubble free? Because of that, I didn't end up having to use the kitchen torch to get rid of bubbles. It was pretty much bubble free. Next, I'm ready for the resin. The resin I'm using for this project is art resin. It's a 1-to-1 ratio resin that you mix slowly in a cup for 3 minutes, scraping the sides, scraping the bottom to ensure thorough mixing. So for this project, I ended up mixing up 4 ounces of resin because I'm using it for something else, but I did end up using 1.5 ounces of resin. If you go on the art resin calculator, it calls for 1 ounce of resin for a 6x6 canvas. This does not take into account the glass that you're covering, and it does not take into account resining the sides of the project. So if you're just doing the top of a painted canvas, that's all you would need is 1 ounce. And I have a tendency to use a lot of resin. I like for everything to be covered completely and nice and shiny. So you guys need to make decisions for yourself how much resin you use, and there are resin calculators. So I always put it over the glass first and then spread it around on the canvas. Once I get it all out on the canvas, I start to put a little extra on along the sides and push it down along the sides and use my finger to smooth it out. And you don't need a whole lot to get the sides shiny, but it's nice if I like the sides to be shiny. Some people don't care. And after I get all that on, then I take some more glass. Now this is again Ashland decorative filler that I have sprayed with Tamaya pink translucent spray paint. And I sprinkled that in the center of the flowers, wherever you could see the white through it. And it just gave it a little bit of sparkle. And I also went ahead and sprinkled it along the bottom. I didn't end up having to use my little kitchen torch because it didn't have any bubbles, because I used my Airless Lite bubble removal machine, which worked really well. But I do come back every 15 minutes to check for glass placement. It's really important that it's on a flat, level surface so that the glass doesn't move. I use my toothpick to rearrange the glass and also to remove any sediment that I might find. This resin sets best or cures best at temperatures between 75 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. It's in your best interest to cover it with a dust cover. All resins are different. You need to read the directions for the resin that you are using. So the next day I decided I wanted to highlight the edge of the flower, so I took this Pearl Light Red Tamaya spray paint, sprayed it into a little cup, then took a brush and just kind of highlighted the edges of all 3 of the roses. Felt like they were too plain, and I don't know if it added anything, but I did. Then I took the heat gun and I dried it, and then I took UV resin after it was dry and put it over all the painted areas and put the UV light on it. Hey everyone, this is the first time I've done something on canvas in a long time. Usually I do it on glass, except for around Christmas with all the Christmas trees. But yeah, I love this canvas because you don't need anything to set it in. You can just set it right on a shelf just like that, because it's so, the bottom is so thick. And these canvases are from Michaels, and they always have them on sale. So keep your eyes open. A lot of times it's like buy one, get one free, buy 2, get 2 free, or 70% off, which I think is the best deal. So anyway, so the coffee cup kind of messed it up, but I did end up saving 1/2, and then I ended up with 2 pieces. This is one of the pieces. So even if you mess the coffee cup up totally and the handle falls off or whatever, you can at least shape them into some different pieces like that. Because look at that, looks like a little pot. Isn't that cute? And then you saw how I added the color around the edges at the end. And this is a Tamaya spray paint also, but it's not advertised as translucent. So I didn't buy this till oh, maybe about 6 months ago. And this is actually the Pearl, it's called Pearl Light Red. And it's not it's not advertised as translucent, but look at what color it is. I was just talking to somebody about this. And can you see how if you put it on light enough, it's translucent? It's a beautiful pink. Isn't that nice? So I started messing around with some different Tamayas, and they have a couple of the metallics, like the fall colors in metallics, which I had used, I think, on my tree, my big tree that I made. So anyway, you should look into some of them. Maybe I'll do another video on the ones that aren't translucent, but you can make them translucent. Anyway, so at the very end, I ended up highlighting the flowers, and it just gave it a little more color, I guess, instead of just being the solid color. And the original color that I put on matches pretty good to this here, and that was the Krylon, which I just happened to have a bunch of it. I don't suggest buying it because they are really price gouging, and you can pretty much find the colors you want in the Tamayas. The only hard one is the green. But anyway, all in all, I think it turned out cute. And if you noticed, I didn't have to use the kitchen torch on this at all, because I tried out this new bubble removal thing. It's by, I guess, Resiners, and it's the Airless Lite bubble removal machine. I get sent stuff all the time, and if I don't like it, you know, I'll try stuff out, and if I don't like it, I will not do a video on it, because I don't want to, you know, lie to somebody just to do a video, or you know, or leave a bad review for somebody either. So, but this was really cool. So if you watched it, the bubbles all came to the top, and then it looked like it had a ton of bubbles on the top. But then when you remove the little plug there, they kind of dissipate. But there was bubbles left on the top still, and I just took a little spoon and scooped them off. So I don't know if I would have waited a little longer, maybe the rest of the bubbles would have come off, but I thought that was pretty cool. I'll use it again. And this is the actual size of the machine. So it's a good size machine, and they don't suggest that you use more than a half a cup, because you don't want it to bubble over the top. But I thought it was really cool, and I didn't have to use the torch to get rid of bubbles when I was making my project. So the other thing is, I don't talk about a lot, but there are resin calculators that you can use to determine how much resin. And those of you who have been doing it for a long time, you're probably like me, you just mix it up. You don't, I mean, we measure, but we don't, you know, calculate perfectly. And I always have something sitting by me to put extra resin in if I have more, because I mixed up 4 ounces, used 1.5. This called for 1 ounce. But like I said, when you use those resin calculators, they are taking into account that you're just doing a painting and you're resining over it. They don't take into account the glass, because extra resin gets stuck down in here and you can't spread it around. So I always use more than probably needed, but I don't think it takes into account these thick edges either. And a lot of people don't put resin on the edges. So, you know, everybody has their own way of doing things. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way. It's just, you know, what you might decide to do. But if you're having a hard time deciding how much resin to use, the resin calculators should be available for each of the brands of resin that you're using. And always have something extra sitting on the side in case you make too much and you want to pour it over. You know, you don't want to waste it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. If you enjoyed the channel, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell. That will notify you when a new video comes out. I try to put a new video out every Friday. We have the Facebook page going. It's an amazing group of people who display beautiful artwork, and everybody is so helpful. Come join us there. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.